Hey guys, so we're back. We are talking about First Sight Paige, sex, submission, and discernment. I am just doing this video as a reviewer, looking for teachable moments that we can all learn from. If you've not checked out Married at First Sight Season 12, Episode 4, this is what this video is referring to. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the topic of sex because I think, unfortunately, it's the big thing that we've all knew was going to happen. And by sure, they did it. Now, they didn't just do it one time, they did it multiple times. Now, I don't have an issue with them having sex. I understand that for some people, you know, they are quite happy to connect and have sex on the first night of meeting. Me personally, I do think in the context of this show where you are marrying a stranger, it's interesting though that the couples who maybe had more of an attraction, had more of that kind of familiarity and that connection and desire for each other, appeared to actually wait to have sex. Whereas the ones where there was enough red flags to scare you to kingdom come, and there was even that whole feeling of a disconnection between the two, and I'm talking about Chris and Paige, they were the ones who went through and had sex on the first night. Now, what I want to talk about today is really the fact that this guy willingly knew that he felt no connection, had no attraction to this girl, and really went through with it. And this is the pain that he says he was going through a panic attack about. But actually, this was just absolutely him feeling like, I went too far. He knew he went too far in having sex with Paige. He knew he went too far, definitely, in having sex in the morning with Paige. And that might be where he had an ounce of guilt. Honestly, I don't even know if this guy really had a panic attack. I just thought it was very telling of him to have a valid reason for why he thinks in his mind he should have just disappeared from 8:07 till 10:07, or from 8:50, till 10:07, or however long he took. This guy is dangerous. This is the problem, ladies. We often think that men connect with sex and us the same way we do, and they just don't. Men are able to have sex and not have that deep emotional connection that so many more of us women have. Now, this is based on oxytocin, and I don't want to come here and do a whole biology lesson, but I really wanted to just highlight that this is actually based on our biology, that as ladies, we tend to actually have this oxytocin, and men have it too, but we get like a bigger dose of oxytocin. And when this is released, literally, these are the things that form these attachments and bonds in such a deep and deep enduring way. And that is one of the challenges I personally feel like we as women don't quite sometimes understand, that when men are having sex, it's not always this deep connection that they might feel with us that we might actually experience with them. And I'm not saying men in general who you're in a relationship and you're in a marriage with. I'm just talking about when you meet someone and maybe he's been able to have this kind of casual sex with you, and for you, you've actually caught feelings, you feel something more. It's often tied to this thing called oxytocin. Now, the fact that we know that it works in that way, what it actually then does is it can actually shut off parts of our brain which are much more rational in thought and help us to kind of assess the risks and assess the situation in a much more rational, stable state. This guy probably woke up feeling very horny and just was enjoying the rights to what he feels is his wife. Now, this is where I really do feel like this is dangerous. This is borderline dangerous, knowing that there is people who will be willing to, really just lack the discipline, lack the self-discipline to actually be like, do you know what? I need to be honest with you before we actually consummate this marriage, because actually I've already told your friends that I don't fancy you. I've already told people that I'm, not feeling you, not attracted to you in that same way. And actually I need to do you the fair service of letting you know. That would have been the decent, upright thing that his father says he raised him to be. And I'm like, well, if you raise this great gentleman who is so upright and honest and straight to the point, Why did he miss the point of saying this before having sex? So in his mind, he justified this. This is not someone who, took a good moral position on this point. No, he did not. Because the right thing would have been to have the discipline as a man to say, do you know what? This is something that I think I need to talk to you about before we take those next steps. And you didn't do that, Chris. Now, what I then was shocked at was Paige. And I know Paige is a young lady. She's 26. I truly was like, Paige, it's okay to be angry, to be upset. She was so calm and so together that I know this is TV, so I know it must have taken her back. And I could see, like, in one moment, it looked like she was just stunned into silence, or she wanted to maybe even cry, but she held it together. But this lady was so compassionate, so kind, so understanding, so trying to be what I can only describe as like the ideal wife, and negated her own. Like, she didn't even want to kind of raise her voice or have any argument. You could see she was trying her best to kind of keep some calm and composure and manage the situation. And I'm not here to say it was right or wrong. But what I am here to say is that I was worried when I saw that, because I worried that she would actually put her feelings, her needs, her wants aside for this guy and his feelings and his wants and his needs. And that was a worry for me, in a sense of, wow, she is the one who is actually been, in some ways, used or mistreated, disrespected by this individual. And yet the care and concern is all about him. It's all about actually trying to pander, pacify, and make sure he's okay. And this is how emotional manipulation can occur in relationships, because this is how it can begin. Just very subtly, when actually the person who should be crying and the person who should probably need some comfort and care in this moment is the one having to attend to the other person's needs. And I just felt, as a husband, when you are dropping that kind of information on your wife, that is actually letting her know that you feel no attraction to her, despite you actually multiple times having sex with her, the comfort and care could have been shown towards her. And I see clearly that this guy is not able to really empathize and offer her much comfort and care in terms of how she might be feeling. And we know what's coming. That's the worst part. We know what is coming. This man is about to drop a bombshell. What troubled me with Paige was just, she wasn't able to advocate for herself. Just wasn't able to say, what in God's earth are you talking about? How dare you do that to me? Or how dare you actually go ahead, consummate this marriage, and then just, like, I saw no kickback. I saw no, nothing. And I was just like, I hope that occurred somewhere where we didn't get to see it on this edited episode. Now, another red flag. This guy goes missing for over an hour plus after saying, I'm going to get you breakfast, and then does a whole disappearing act. Girl, be prepared that these are warning signs that this individual might be that type of guy where he has a problem or he has an issue or something might be bothering him. Yes, he might have a moment where he can blurt it out and say it in a very blunt and carefree way. But he also might be the type of guy who will walk out that door and you will be wondering where your husband is all 3 days later, because he needed a moment to get his thoughts together. So just pay attention to these things. Now, for me personally, after that revelation, based on all the red flags, and if you haven't checked out my previous video where I've done major red flags concerning Paige and Chris, you can check it out here. I'll definitely post the link in the description. But you definitely, after all of the red flags we've seen from 12 hours earlier, this is only 12 hours into their marriage, guys. When I saw this, I literally was like, girl, And this is what we do as women. We overlook red flags because sometimes we think, well, I'm too far into it, or I'm married now, or this and that. And I get it. Like, when you're married, there are different things you have to contend with. But in this unorthodox way of getting married, let me tell you, Paige, and for any other ladies, even when you are about to walk down the aisle and sometimes you are seeing red, blood red flags like what we're seeing with Chris, do not feel that you are unable to say, I need to pause on what we're doing right now because I need to actually check how I'm feeling, or I need to take a moment, because what we feel is sometimes I can't cancel, or I can't pause the wedding, or I can't let other people down. And actually we are getting guidance from the Holy Spirit or our gut, or if you're not Christian, it might be your intuition, whatever you want to call it. We all get those warning signs. We feel it in our body. We sense it all around us, and we need to pay attention to it and not worry what others might think if I cancel my wedding, if I ask for us to postpone the wedding, or ask for more time to explore what it is I'm worried about. Like, we worry so much about others that we override these major red flags, guys. Girl, let me tell you this. I personally do not know how Paige was able to take her foot to that dinner or that brunch with his parents and be so composed, which is the worry, because this lady almost is giving me the sign that she is willing to set aside her feelings, her emotions for this guy. So this is where discernment comes in, because this is what we do as women, and even sometimes as men, but just as Christians sometimes. And I know not everyone watching this video is a Christian, but this can be one of the downsides. We over spiritualize everything about this is ordained by God. God must have brought us together. And we don't pay attention to using discernment, which is also written in the Bible. Discernment would have told you that there is too many issues in 12 hours of being married to this guy for you to just be thinking that, we're having a few bumps in the road. Bumps? Girl, these are bombs. And when we go against that, this is how we end up hurting ourselves, because we are ultimately the person who sets the boundary for what you're going to tolerate from someone and what you're not going to tolerate. And when he came home, he did not even have the decency to say, hey, Paige, I'm really sorry about what happened. I had a panic attack because of X, Y, and Z. She had to come and seek out this information, and he's asking her, oh yeah, what's up? What's the problem? What do you mean? And she's like, well, you went missing in action, like you went MIA. And he's like, oh yeah. I had a panic attack. Bro, don't play with us. And then the way he was covering his mouth, and I was just like, even when he was telling her, guys, that he's not attracted to her, he did it so nonchalantly, like no regard. And she's wanting to hold hand and connect. And this guy is just all about him. I personally was just like, Paige, where is your voice? This is the worry I have when it comes to submission. And I'm not an expert. I'm not here as a pastor. With Paige, she strikes me as wanting to be that submissive wife. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that, in its all fairness, is where you decide to submit under your husband as the leader. But this guy, I'm already questioning his leading abilities, because as a leader who is there to serve your household, as I understand it to be, which also means to serve, protect, love your wife as Christ loves the church and as you should love yourself, why would you actually go and have sex with this woman, knowing full well, in your own words, there is nothing there? That's what he said to his parents. I feel nothing. There is nothing there. Why? As a leader, would it not be right for you to actually have held a discussion about this before consummating the marriage? As a leader who wants to be respected by his wife, a good leader of a household. So that's poor leadership. And again, you want her to submit to poor leadership. Now, if you had told her this information prior, as your wife, she would have been able to make a decision about whether she give and share her body with you. That would have been her right. And you took that right away by not being the leader that you probably should have been and shared that key information with your partner. As a woman, it's very hard to respect that kind of leadership when the man who you're meant to respect and love, and who's meant to love and care for you, is willing to do something that could harm you on such a deep spiritual and emotional level. And I'm talking about soul ties. And we know that once you have that connection, especially as if we add in the oxytocin, these soul ties go deep, and it's going to be very hard for her to just walk away from that. And that's why to even then expect to challenge her that she went to your parents and carried the secret of the sex and the fact that she, you had 2 great encounters and then he comes out with this bombshell. It's like, I get it. I understand his point in terms of, for me personally, in my marriage, I personally would maybe not share that information, but in Paige's shoes, I wouldn't even have been at the brunch with his parents because I would have been out. You couldn't have done that to me, and I'm still going to be in this situationship. Honey, that would have been done. I think deep down, we always know what's right for ourselves. Deep down, we know the answer. We really have to be brave enough sometimes to lean into the discomfort and say, do you know what? I'm going to need a moment because I am actually feeling like this is not something I need to be a part of anymore. What I was so disappointed in when it came to Chris's parents and his aunt and the conversation they had is they said to her, Jesus is Lord. I always say, give the real honest advice you would give your own child. Now, if Chris's mum had her daughter sitting in Paige's position, would Chris's mum have said, oh, maybe he had something to drink? Or maybe that's just his way of opening up? This is what happens when we as women can't be objective enough when it comes to our children. This mum, in a very slightly passive-aggressive way, to try and check Paige on, well, maybe that was just his way of being honest. What nonsense was that answer? And then what made it worse is the looks. Her and her husband, they already know their son. Remember, they raised Chris, know their child. And you could see, I tell you, us in Black culture, we know looks and we know our people. I was reading their body language, and when the mum is like, I done told that guy not to come on this show and act the fool, but I also told that guy that you just came out of a situation 3 months ago, and I don't think this is the right thing for you to do. You knew all the thoughts that were going on because her face was not happy. And she was looking at the dad, kind of like, we knew this ish was going to go down. But something tells me that they are used to some drama or chaos or some hectic behavior with their child. Dad did the right thing in this instance because he completely knew where she was coming from. Don't consummate a marriage when you know you don't have any attraction there. Don't do that. But the second thing that this family did is they gave advice again. And their advice, based on Dad's words, was ride it out. That's my suggestion. Would you tell your own daughter to do such a thing with a man who is just giving all those red flags, all that information that you already know, plus having done this act of having sex with her when he's not attracted to her? Would you tell your own daughter to ride it out? That's my suggestion. I really felt disappointed that as parents, they would even advise that. What would have been better advice would to be say, you know what? This is something that you are going to need to go away and think on and actually do what's right for you. And maybe you want to seek other counsel or something. But to tell her to stick and ride it out? No, that was not your place. And that's why I'm like, I know this girl's going to try and ride this marriage out. And I only hope that her mental health and emotional well-being is intact by the end of this. And Paige just seems to be so desiring to be loved. And she said it. I desire to be loved. I've been waiting for this for so long. And this is how fantasy and desire can switch off your rational self. And the sad part I want to just mention is emotional, unavailable men often end up having women who are desiring to try and get them to like them. And Paige is trying to do everything to get this guy to like her. You see it in this episode now. You see from how she dressed when she changed, when she came back, she was trying to be a bit more like, yeah, hey, not too confrontational. Then she changed into the shorts and the red top, and you see the sexy was coming out. And I was like, this guy has just said and done all these things. And you are willing to try and sell yourself. And it's not in a way of sell yourself in a horrible way. It's just like we do this when we're trying to attract someone to us who we desire ourselves, but who we desperately want them to see our worth, to see our value. And this is what I saw happen with Paige. It was like she is there now trying to, okay, he doesn't know me yet. He's just judged me based on the last 12 hours. Girl, he knows enough that he's not attracted to you. The guy said to his parents, there is nothing there. And what's going to happen is she is going to do everything to try and build the connection, to build the emotional intimacy, to meet his desires so that he will love her the way she desires to be loved. And this, guys, is the worst thing ever, because this is how emotional abuse can slip into relationships. This is how low self-esteem, this is how low self-worth, this is how negative self-talk can occur and get worse, because you're going to feel like, it's me. I need to do something to make him desire me. I need to do something to make him love me. I need to do something to change what's going on here. And I'm telling you, this is red flag behavior. So I'm very interested to see what Pastor Cal and the experts have to say, because as a pastor, I am paying close attention to what you think is acceptable and not acceptable, and what your advice will be. Hopefully, guys, you've enjoyed this video. I know I've gone on a rant. Remember to hit that like button and the subscribe and the bell so you never miss another video each and every time I upload. Take care and God bless. Bye.